Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Hello and welcome to Cut the Crop. I'm Anna Heslop and today I'm talking to FAR CEO Alison Stewart. We're going to have a catch up on what FAR's been up to in the first 3 months of the year. And it's absolutely terrifying to think that it's Easter already, Alison. So what has been on the table for that first quarter?
The three big sort of ticket items, there's really just FAR and the research trials and all of the harvesting that we've had to do. Probably the consultation that we've been doing with growers around Te Waka e Kanoa. And then obviously we've had, unfortunately, a couple of biosecurity incursions.
So not much then.
Well, along with all the other business as usual things that FAR has to do. But yeah, they're the things that have been slightly keeping me awake at night.
So let's work through them from the harvest perspective. How does that work from FAR's perspective?
Well, I guess we're the same as the growers. We've got field trials throughout the country and we've been affected by, the wet weather, and we've been struggling to be able to get some of our harvests in, and it's had an impact on some of our trials. It's not the same sort of impact, obviously economic impact that growers would have, but it does impact our ability to be able to pull together the research results and get them out in a timely manner to the growers. But, we're getting there. Obviously, the CPT trials and getting that booklet out and doing the roundups. We did those online. Unfortunately, it would have been really nice to have been able to have done those face-to-face. But it all happened that week that the government decided to open things up, and we decided it was probably just too difficult to sort of go face-to-face. So we did all the roundup sort of meetings online. But, good attendance and getting the results as much as we can out as quickly as possible.
Okay, and Te Waka e Kanoa, that was a massive job to come back into the new year. Where are we actually up to with that?
Well, the first thing I should say is that, it's amazing that we did actually get as good grower consultation as we did. Given the fact it was set at a time when arable farmers, at worst time of the year, right in the middle of harvest, we actually got relatively good consultation, probably a little bit better than we expected. So a big thank you to the growers who, did take the time to fill in the survey. So we've now, all of the sectors have completed their consultation, and we're pulling together all of the results of that consultation. And just from the discussions and, talking about it, we're getting very strong feedback from growers that the farm level is the one that they would prefer, that pricing option, because it just gives them more control over being charged for the emissions on their farm rather than, the other options where you were getting charged national averages. So, but getting it over the line, is still a big challenge because it is the more expensive of the options that we discussed. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and there's still a lot of meetings to be held between the various industry sectors. But yeah, the end of the month, end of May, we'll be putting, the formal proposal to the government for them to consider, and then we'll find out probably at the end of the year which one we're going to be implementing in 2025, or what, and how that looks at this moment in time. It's still too early to say, but we got very strong feedback from the growers, and that was the key thing with Te Waka e Kanoa, was that as much as the industry agencies, the levy bodies, were doing a lot of work and coming up with their ideas of what they thought was best, we did actually genuinely listen to the growers. And I know that some groups didn't feel that they were being listened to, but the reality is that everybody was listened to. It's just an incredibly complex, complicated situation, because you're not just having to look at it from your own sector's perspective. We're trying to find the compromise between all the different sectors, what's going to work for them all. And that's not easy.
especially when you're one of the smaller sectors.
Well, exactly. And I know that, and some of the feedback that we got from our growers was, what on earth is FAR doing involved in this? Just walk away from it, who cares? Well, the reality is that we would care if we hadn't been round the table, because there would have been decisions made that would have had perverse outcomes for Arable, because we are a slightly different farming system. We are more complex and diversified, and so thinking through some of the more simplistic solutions that were being put forward for some of the monoculture based sectors, that would have turned out to be quite disadvantageous to our growers.
So enough of that. On to some more cheery topics. Biosecurity. That's been another fun round for the beginning of the year.
Yes, I know we had the blackgrass incursion before Christmas, and we did get on top of that very quickly and worked through our GIA partnership, through the Seed and Grain Readiness and Response Group. And I think that we've done a really good job at being able to sort of, curtail that, and we've gone into an eradication process. What the growers have to understand is that, there are costs associated with that the industry is going to have to cover. And that's why we, have a biosecurity levy system in place. So that is going to play out as probably the first example of, us operating in a GIA environment where we will have to contribute towards the costs.
How does that biosecurity actually work?
Well, at the moment, it's set at 0, and we always agreed that when there was a biosecurity incursion, that MPI would, in the first instance, pay for all of the costs. But once we'd worked out what the industry component of those costs were, then we would have a certain period of time to pay that back. And so at that point, we would enact the biosecurity levy to be able to capture the funds that would allow us to repay those costs back to the government.
There's no free lunch on this one.
Absolutely not. I mean, we've known for many years that the government could not afford to continue to pay for every biosecurity incursion, and that the industries would have to come to the party and contribute, particularly when they were a direct beneficiary. And this blackgrass incursion is the first example for Arable where we will need to do that.
And then since then, there's sort of an ongoing issue around fall armyworm. How does FAR get involved with that one?
Well, obviously, fall armyworm has been on our list as a priority pest for the arable sector, and that's principally because of its likely impact on maize crops. And so, we had the detection in Tauranga a couple of weeks ago, and so we're actively involved in having discussions around what to do, whether to go into a response mode or whatever. So that's literally happening at the moment, and we don't know how that's going to play out as yet. But at least we're round the table, and at least we're contributing to all of the discussions and the decisions.
Okay, so what about some good news? There must be some good things happening.
Well, yes, and it's very easy for FAR to be promoting some of the challenges, but at the end of the day, we're still doing all of the things that we've always done in the past. We're doing all of our fungicide resistance trials, our agronomy trials, looking at new crops, a lot of work on research, looking to develop tools and technologies to help the growers sort of meet their environmental compliance requirements. And we've had lots of good positive results. We had the piece of work that the seed researchers were doing, identifying the problem with cocksfoot and identifying that it was a downy mildew and what management practices could be implemented. We've had a lot of work done on soil health over the years, and we're pulling all that together into another FAR focus, like we did last year with the confidence to cut back, where we pulled together all of the nitrogen management work that we'd done. So we've got the Growers Leading Change programme that is really progressing very well and getting lots of grower input. So, there is a lot of good things that we're doing, and we're getting it out there it's just very hard for growers to see the wood for the trees at the moment because of all the other things. But I think, they just have to trust that FAR is investing the bulk of our money in, the research that will directly benefit them on farm. And we might spend a lot of our time talking about all of the other things, but at the end of the day, we've still got those researchers out there doing good research that over the next 2 to 3 years will start delivering some positive outcomes.
Well, on that note, shall we say happy Easter to everybody and have a great day on the farm?
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.